everybody, my name is Alex and welcome to another historical first look video, this time for Robert the Bruce of Scotland. Yay, Scotland are in the game, which I kind of expected because, I don't know, I just did. I had that feeling that there'd be some, I feared it may be something silly like the Celts again with Boudica, but no, I was pretty happy to see that Scotland's actually going to have its own civ, and yeah, because I think a lot of the time in previous civilization games, kind of being maybe grouped with England, is that unfair? But obviously Scotland has a history of its own. Unfortunately, it's not Nicola Sturgeon, which I'm sure some of you are very upset about. But no, Robert the Bruce. So in this video, we're going to take a historical look at the civilization. We're going to have a look firstly at Robert the Bruce and his story. We're going to have a look at some of the main events and just try and go over pretty much what his reign was all about. Then we're going to move on to some of Scotland's bonuses. So we're talking about the Bannockburn bonus and the Highlander bonus. And then finally we're going to have a look at Scotland's unique building, the golf course, and unique unit, there we go, the Highlander. So as always, if you do enjoy the video, please do make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. If I make any mistakes, I'm open to criticism in the comments, and I'm sure you'll all be willing to tell me where I've gone wrong. Also, pronunciation. I am very, very poor at pronunciation, as I'm sure you'll pick up throughout this video. So yes, let's go on to the history of Robert the Bruce. I have missed some things out in places, kind of been very vague in others and detailed in others. It's just kind of how it works. Try and keep this video as short as possible. You can't really fit everything in, and there was tons on him, I have to admit. So yeah, so first of all, throughout this video I am likely to refer to Robert the Bruce as either Robert, no I'm joking, just Robert, Robert, sometimes probably Bruce or Robert the Bruce. So if you hear me talking about any of those, I'm talking about the same guy, Robert the Bruce. I won't be referring him to as Robert or Bobby, anything like that, don't worry. So yeah, let's start off. So he was born in 1274 to an aristocratic family with a distant relation to Scottish royals through his father. He would go on to become one of the most celebrated Scottish leaders of all time. However, his story was far from simple or easy. You know what, I thought, Robert the Bruce, I did not realise how much kind of hassle he went to get to where he was before doing the research for this video. So our story begins in November 1292, when Edward I of England, famously known as Longshanks, what a nickname, awarded the vacant crown of Scotland to his grandfather's first cousin once removed, John, basically King John. Who got the throne, and the Bruces didn't like this fact. They didn't like the fact that King John was chosen over their grandfather, and they refused to accept the decision and support it. So this put them in a conflicting position with their Scottish countrymen, the vast majority of which were pretty happy, and they weren't that bothered. However, it wasn't long before King John and Edward fell out. John didn't like Edward's continued attempts to assert English dominance over Scotland, with the final straw being the attempt to force Scotland into joining England in a war against the French. So yeah, if you know anything about history, Scotland does not like being told what to do by England, and fair play. I mean, I don't blame them. So instead of doing this, instead of joining in this war against France, they actually signed an alliance with France in 1296, which led to war between the Scots and the English. So the Bruces found themselves on the English side in this war, for obvious reasons, for reasons we've discussed before, attempting to dethrone King John of Scotland. In fact, the Bruces were the target of one of the first major attacks of the war when they were attacked at Carlisle, the Castle of Carlisle, I should say. So the Castle of Carlisle holds importance in the fact that historians have often claimed, and it's pretty much considered to be the major defence against every single Scottish invasion throughout the vast majority of them, especially in recent history. The most recent ones is the major defence against any invasion into Western England, because if you can get past Carlisle, you can get into Western England. The English often made Carlisle their strongest point. But it was not just a battle, this was not just about strategy, this was about rival dynasties. So as I said, the Bruces were holding Carlisle, but they had a rival dynasty in the Comyn dynasty. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but C-O-M-Y-N, Comyn is what I'm going to refer to them as. and their faction and their supporters. So they besieged Carlisle, this dynasty. They besieged it because pretty much the Bruces was there, not just because of the strategic significance, but it's important to highlight that the conflict between the two dynasties, because it is going to get quite important as we go through this video. So ultimately, this war between the English and the Scottish ended with the English triumph. Following the capture of Berwick and the crushing defeat of the Scots at the Battle of King John was removed from his position, and Englishmen were put in charge of the country. What a great idea. Put an Englishman in charge of Scotland, they'll love that, won't they? I know I wouldn't. So now the period following this is a little less easy to understand. Before this, the Bruces and Robert the Bruce had sided with the England for reasons which I've discussed. But what is certain about the upcoming period is that Robert, he cut his allegiances with England and moved more towards a position where he desired to fight in opposition of them rather than with them. What is less clear, however, is the extent and completely when this occurred. There seems to be a lot of debate about this, and especially over the Battle of Falkirk. Some claim that Robert was fighting for the English, whereas others claim he may not have been. But ultimately, at the Battle of Falkirk anyway, the English won the day, and the defeat led to William Wallace ceding his title of Guardian of Scotland. So we don't really know what Robert was doing. There's some people claim some things, some people claim others. But what is definite is that the Scots lost this battle, and that William Wallace, name drop, ceded his title of Guardian of Scotland. But who did he cede it to? I wonder. So we've got Robert the Bruce, he ceded it to, but he also ceded it to John Comyn, if you remember the name from a second ago. These were rivals and both had a strong claim to the Scottish throne. However, Bruce did not retain the title for long. He wasn't too interested in it, and because of the conflict made him cede it. And he would cede it in the year 1300. So in the early 1300s, King Edward launched further assaults into Scotland, which eventually led to the English asserting a high level of dominance over the Scottish and over Scotland and the Scottish nobles. All the nobles bar William Wallace submitted to the English king, and this sets the scene for the beginning of Robert's reign. Following a chain of events and disagreements between Robert and John Comyn, the guy we just discussed, over the future of the Scottish throne, the pair predictably came to blows in Dumfries, or as my girlfriend seems to call it, Dumfries, which is really silly, there we go. With reports that Bruce stabbed Comyn in front of the high altar. This left Bruce the strongest figure in Scotland, and 6 weeks later he was crowned king, and so began a campaign to free Scotland from the English grasp. But Bruce did not encounter early success. Early defeats saw him flee the English and likely hide in the Hebrides in the winter of 1306 and 1307. As well as this, his brother, one of his brothers, he seems to have loads of brothers, he was hung, drawn and quartered, but yet the Scottish king came back. In February 1307, he forged guerrilla warfare in the southwest of Scotland, and by March 1309, following the defeats of his fierce rivals at Comyn, Bruce controlled Scotland north of the River Tay. Essentially, he controlled the most part of northern Scotland. You can Google the River Tay, but it pretty much shows that he controlled the most part of northern Scotland. By 1314, Robert had advanced further into the south of Scotland. He continued this war against the English and English supporters, and he captured the majority of the Scottish castles, in addition to launching raiding parties on the English, which ventured as far south as Carlisle. Edward II, who succeeded Edward Longshanks, who was now dead, responded by sending a force of around 20,000 men. Robert, with a considerably smaller force, met him at the Battle of Bannockburn. I wonder if anybody's ever heard of that. And this began on the 23rd of June, 1314. Despite his considerably smaller force, Robert emerged victorious from the battle by using masterful tactics. Edward was dragged from the battle, leaving English influence in Scotland and his pride behind. Robert had succeeded in his mission to rid Scotland of the English. The remainder of his reign was it's still quite exciting, but less exciting, and just for the sake of time in this video, I'm not going to go into that much detail. but essentially it included raids on the north of England as far south as Yorkshire and Lancashire, as well as very limited success in establishing a Scottish Irish Gaelic nation under his kingship. Finally, towards the end of his reign in 1328, the kingdoms of England and Scotland signed the Edinburgh-Northampton Treaty. The treaty established the treaty ended the First War of Scottish Independence and recognised Scotland as an independent kingdom with Robert the Bruce and his successors as the rightful leaders of the nation. Robert died in 1329. I don't know the cause, there's many theories on this, but he died having established Scotland as an independent kingdom and defeated the English threat. Okay, so now we're going to go on and talk a little bit about leader abilities and civ abilities, things like that, as well as the unique unit and building. So just a quick note, I am going to be using the civ website for a large part of this because I think it summarises them all very nicely. I'll also add little bits in here and there. But yeah, let's talk about the unique leader ability, Bannockburn. Now I wonder where this could possibly be from. Well, yeah, obviously the Battle of Bannockburn. And it's not a surprise that his unique leader ability is this, because if I thought of Robert the Bruce before doing all this research, and probably still after doing all this research, the one thing that'll come to mind before anything else is Bannockburn. So, so we've talked about the Battle of Bannockburn. He defied the odds, he won with a much smaller force, and it was an absolute crushing victory against the English. So in the game, this is going to translate into some war bonuses for the Scottish. So Robert the Bruce can declare a war of liberation after gaining the defensive tactics civ, and you can also gain bonus production and additional movement during a war of liberation. It makes sense why it's in there. So the War of Liberation, Robert the Bruce liberating Scotland from English rule, and the fact it's called Bannockburn pretty much summarises that. So I think that's pretty much where that comes from. Now if we're going to look at the unique civ ability, this is a little bit different, but I absolutely love the fact that it's in there because it makes sure that we're celebrating much more than just kind of the Scottish past of fighting the English and defending their territory, because obviously Scotland is much more than that. So this unique ability is going to celebrate the fact that in the 18th and 19th century there were so many great people from Scotland with so many great ideas. So one of the major ones of this, and it's actually mentioned on the website, is Adam Smith. And obviously he wrote The Wealth of Nations. I think he wrote that. Was it a book? I'm looking at the economics person in the room. He doesn't know. Great. I think it was a book. But basically, Adam Smith, he's the founder of modern day economics. As an economics student at college, the first thing we learnt about was Adam Smith, about his pin factory, and to be honest, I did not even know he was Scottish, which is a nice surprise. But yeah, this is really nice because it celebrates more than just this kind of warrior nation idea. So I like the fact that's in there. In the game, it's going to translate to happy cities receiving additional science and production, and also generating more great scientist points per campus and great engineering points per industrial zone. So it's nice that they've celebrated more than just that in the game, even though the economics university student can't tell me what the Wealth of Nations actually is, which is a bit embarrassing. Anyway, let's move on to the unique. Should we do the? Yeah, we'll do the unique unit first. Okay, so I'm just going to read this off here because I think this summarises. I did a little bit of research, and my brother did a little bit of research, but this summarises pretty much what it's all about. So the Highlander. The feared and respected Scottish Highlanders were ferocious on the battlefield. In fact, some scholars say that even the Vikings knew to avoid the nation. Starting in the 16th century, though Highlanders began trading in their bows for gunpowder firearms, by the 1700s the Scottish Highlanders were in constant conflict, be it rebels, criminals or warring clans. King George I ordered the formation of what would be called the Black Watch to help keep the peace. They served so well that by 1739 they were formed into His Majesty's 42nd Regiment and shipped out to North America. So in Civilization 6, they are going to be replacing the Ranger unit. I think it's also going to be a little bit stronger than the Ranger unit, but it's nice to have them in there. They're also going to get bonuses to fighting on hill and forest terrain. Oh, cool. So nice to get 2 bonuses there, other than just fighting on the hill, which we get with the Georgian Kevsereti. That's nice. But yeah. Another interesting fact for the Highlanders, something that's not on this page, is that it's believed, so obviously these Highlanders that went to North America are part of this, that there is 20 to 25 million Scottish American descendants of Scottish Americans in America. How nice is that? That's an interesting fact. So let's finally talk about the golf course. Now, the only thing that really comes to mind when I think of Scotland and golf courses is Donald Trump. Don't know why, but it just is. I can just see him now with his little cap on. But obviously, that's not why the golf course is in Civilization 6. So as it talks about a lot in here, the research we did pretty much is that Scotland is the home of modern day golf, which I did not know. So St Andrews is one of the most prestigious golf courses in the world, and there's actually 578 courses in Scotland, which is the most per head in the world. Golf course facts. So this is really a part of Scottish sporting culture, and therefore it's really good to see that reflected in the game. So I think, yeah, and also the first written rules originated in Scotland. So I think that's going to be it for this video, though. Oh god, sorry, I've not even mentioned what you get. So in Civilization 6, so this once banned pastime, as it talks about the Act of Parliament of the 6th of March 1457, provides a number of bonuses for Scotland in Civilization 6. A golf course provides additional amenities, gold and culture if adjacent to a city centre. It also provides additional culture when located near an entertainment complex. Later in the game, it yields additional tourism and housing bonuses. Golf course tiles can't be swapped or placed in the desert and desert hills. But yeah, that's basically why the golf course is there, and that's the bonuses they give you, which are actually look quite good on the face of it. Anyway, that is going to be the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed. I'm sorry if it's been quite a long one, but please do remember to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more kind of historical first look videos. This was planned to be more organised, but I've literally got no time at all. Yeah, so thank you for watching. If I've made any mistakes or you'd like to add anything, please do comment below, and I will see you next week for another historical first look video.